Have you ever betrayed yourself or come face to face with your deepest, darkest shadows and turned away in fear? Well, if you're ready to wake up and live the conscious life you crave, then today's guest is going to share some radical paths to alternative healing, wholeness, and acceptance. Welcome to Havilah and Friends. I'm your host, Havilah Malone, and every week I bring you inside my amazing world of mindfulness teachers, inspirational speakers, business experts, celebrities, and so much more to have the conversations that matter to you. And it wasn't until our guest today hit rock bottom that she started this incredible journey of really embracing wholeness and going from immense tragedy to incredible triumph. Rhonda Smith now serves to help others heal as a Kambo practitioner, shadow integration, and relationship coach and podcaster. Please welcome my good friend, Rhonda Smith. Hey, Rhonda.
Havilah, thank you so much for having me on your show. Such a pleasure to be here with your beautiful face and your beautiful energy and talk about really important things.
Thank you. I am really excited to have you here because I think the topic that we're talking about is something that people are, they're craving and they're curious about and want to find paths to healing. So many people are struggling with internal conflict, internal pain and disease, and they're turning to very unhealthy coping mechanisms, whether that is drug addiction, whether that's, alcohol or unhealthy relationships. And before we get into like solutions, I want you to talk a little bit about like what you've had to overcome to get to the place that you are now.
It's such a beautiful thing. And, and beyond just the things that are, addictive tendencies or the patterns we have where we just keep doing different relationships, personal development can also be that sense for a lot of people too, trying to just feed themselves. There's a saying about Western man's laziness is being too busy, constantly keeping ourselves in a state of learning or feeding ourselves external information from outside. When we can quiet the mind and listen, we have great intelligence in our being. And that's what most people are trying to numb out or avoid because the voices are getting louder and louder. And it's like your soul or your body is trying to like get you to step into who you are. And for most people, we've never been taught the tools on how to manage intuition or manage the depths of our soul. So that was definitely my story. Super connected as a child, born with just an incredible amount of anxiety. And I really wanted to understand like why my path had been so hard, like a lot of anxiety, a lot of depression. I had suicidal thinking as a very young child throughout my life. And it took a lot for me to finally listen. I had to try and kill myself twice. I attempted suicide twice, and really getting to the state where I had lost everything and I was on the verge of being homeless and all of these pieces for me to finally listen. It's funny, like what it takes for some of us to actually hear what we need. And, I don't recommend taking the path I took, which is the path of destruction and losing everything, but so grateful for every learning lesson and pulling myself out of that. And I think that's the thing for most people is we are all taught like we need more, and we need this, and it needs to look like this, and we want to be here. But the difference between being here and wanting to be there is a lot of work. It's a lot of growth. It's a lot of feeling. Mm-hmm. And most people don't want to feel what it requires to feel to be able to go into our expansion. And, that's a lot of the work I do with the people that I work with is to get someone to sit still and listen, to get someone to stop talking, to get someone to stop reading books or podcasts for a while, or to stop masturbating, or to stop whatever, all the vehicles we use to cope and deal and numb, and sit with ourselves. I call it sitting in our shit, and essentially just sitting down deep in it and getting comfortable. So that's essentially the shadow is the unconscious parts of ourselves. And it's referred to as the monster under the bed, or, the demon or the dragon that's chasing us. And the dragon that chased me my whole life was like, I thought was trying to run me off a cliff. And the funniest part is it was just trying to catch up with me to give me like a message. And when I could finally stop and turn it and face it and look it right in the eye and like kiss it on the nose, I got to ride it, right? Like I got to go explore with it. And that was the same with my suicidal tendencies is, as a woman, having depression and all of these things, there wasn't a lot of places to go because everybody just wanted to medicate me out of it and numb me from feeling it and trap that in my body. And one day on my bed, I just laid there and I was like, what is this? Like, what is this? And I finally was able to listen. And my suicidal thinking was like my best friend, just like my fears are my best friends. They're there with a message like, hey, you need to look out. And hey, you need to know this. And when I learned through working with sacred plant medicine how to go into it rather than run away from it, my whole life changed.
And it's really, and thank you so much for sharing that. It's really like everything is information. Like everything is trying to share something with us and teach us some type of lesson for our own benefit. And sometimes we go down, a very unhealthy path because we aren't stopping to listen, because we aren't stopping to just have that awareness to look at it and like, okay, you're trying to direct me over here, but because I'm not being true to myself, because I keep betraying myself, I keep going this way and just cycling down this hole almost. And I remember in a part of your story, and you shared, you said that if I told the truth, or you believe that if I told the truth about myself, then I wouldn't be loved. And I think a lot of people struggle because we are looking for that acceptance. We're looking for love, and we feel like we can't be ourselves. And so we suppress and we bend and we contort, and that leads to a lot of the pain. So what was the realization, or how did you come to that realization that the opposite was true?
Well, I've been looking my whole life for someone to love the way I loved. I wanted others to love me the way I loved. And I have a teacher, and he's just such an amazing person. And he's like, why the hell would you want that? He's like, why wouldn't you want people to love you the way they love? If he's like, if you want the love that only you can give, then love yourself. And I fought that for years. And I'm like, but that's not what I want. I want someone else to do it for me. And, for me, my life got to the point where I was beyond being on my knees and beyond that point. And the only surrender that could happen was the acceptance of who I was and what I had been and what I had done. And it wasn't who I would be forever, but those experiences showed me like the level of self-betrayal a person will go to fit into this idea of the dream. And this, right? And like, I've had, and I'm super open with everything about my story and my life. And that didn't happen overnight. It took a lot of work.
Process, like an unfolding process.
Right.
And I know you talk about like our shadows are our greatest teachers. And I want you to just talk a little bit about, so what are those shadows? And then why is it so important to embrace this for getting to that place of wholeness and acceptance?
Well, I always use this expression, which is a little bit weird, but like, what's under your dress? Like, we put on these clothes and we put on like these masks and we do our hair and like all this stuff, like, right? Like, but like, I don't want to know who you think you need to be because that's what you think other people think you are. I want to know who you are when you're naked in your kitchen, dancing to music at midnight, eating almond butter out of a jar, right? And like,
Yes, like
that's the you I want to know. That interests me. And like, our society and our culture very much promotes that this is the book you should know now, and this is the way you should live now, and this is the thing. And like, I just wrote a book that will be coming out in the fall called The Whole Method, and my publisher's like, he's like, well, there's no exact method, and I'm like, well, that's the point. That's the point, is like, this journey is about you. We believe that this external compass and these books and all these guides, and I get it, like, we need some information to be able to move forward. We have lived in a lot of being very deprived of this for many thousands of years, but when we can shut out the outside and we can tap into that internal compass and begin to trust ourselves, we'll realize all that information is already in there. The divine is willing to bring it out in just a second if you stop thinking you need to find it outside of yourself. And people are afraid. When I ask people, I'm like, I want to know what only you know. And they're like, well, how the hell do you do that? And right, I don't know what I know. And that
exactly, like, I don't even know what I know.
I don't even know what I know. And like, it's so funny because most of the time when I ask people that and they say, I don't know, and I can do the I don't know game till the end of time. And they're like, I'm like, great, but what if you did know? and then I don't need an answer. And like, I've had people an hour, I've had people on multiple calls where they like still didn't know, and they were simply afraid to just let it come forward. Like maybe it was pink elephant, maybe it made no sense, but like being vulnerable with allowing ourselves to have the information come through. I mean, I hid my weird my whole life so that I could figure out success or find my stuff. And like, boy, that was never going to work for me. So, you know, a lot of times when people come to me, they're like, I have really bad depression, or I have, you know, a lot of chronic fatigue, or I have whatever. And I'm just like, are you living in your truth? Like, no, I'm not happy in my marriage. We never have sex. Like, I don't know how to be a good parent. Like, I hate my job. Well, okay, well, that's all there for you to figure out. It's not a punishment. It's a tool.
You know, I love the idea of it's really about living in your truth. Like, and everybody has their truth for themselves. And like you said, it's like being naked. I can remember a time where, you know, a lot of times if you go on a walk or something like that and you're listening to your earbuds and the music is playing, and I'd be walking down the path or walking down the street and a good song would come on and I'm like dancing, I'm having fun, I'm like just going all in. But as soon as it would come into my awareness that somebody was either coming along the path or there was a car passing, like I would go into this shell, like I would shut it down, I would stop, you know, and get more still and like, no, this is how you're supposed to, you know, be in the world and walk while you're on the path. So it was like I was masking and putting up that mask or that front, you know, of, and not allowing all of who I was to show at any given time, no matter who was watching. And I remember the day, like, and it was like this breakthrough happened. And you're right, it's work. Like it is literally ongoing daily work to be able to help get through, you know, those pieces in our lives or put the pieces back together. And I remember the day I was out on the path, I'm listening to this song, I'm jamming out, I'm like literally like dancing in the street. And a car, I hear the car, like the awareness comes, the car comes by, and I kept dancing. And somebody started walking towards me, and I kept dancing. And what was so crazy was, or not even crazy, but miraculous, I guess, was the person who started walking past me, like they caught that energy, they caught that joy, and it put a smile on their face. So it's like we worry about the judgments of everybody else, and we stop being who we are in those moments where if you, like you said, integrate that, you know, embrace all of your shadows and all of your pieces and just live in your truth. And it's easier to just be you. So Lord, so much easier. And I want you to talk about, because you help people in some incredible ways, but through some pretty radical paths to alternative healing. And so I want to talk a little bit about what are some of these ways that we can get to this place of wholeness and healing so we can live the lives that we crave.
Mm-hmm. Well, what you just said was a perfect analogy of it, because essentially I tell people, like, all you have to do when you work with me is feel. You just have to feel. And they're like, huh? And I'm like, yeah, like when you were walking and cognizant of the fact that you held in your shell and like stopped dancing in your car, like you were guarding your feelings so that you could control.
And speak up a little bit for me.
Yeah, so you can control and manage your feelings, right? So when you decided that day, the car is coming by, you're rocking out, and you're like, I'm going to do this, you had to allow yourself to feel. You probably sweat more, endorphin rush, all of these things. And then when the person was coming, you're like, oh man, like this is real time, right? Like, and I'm going to keep doing it. Well, what most people don't want to do is they won't let themselves feel. We don't have the tools of how to manage that level of feeling. Your anxiety rushes, all of these things happen. So we work, I have a group of amazing people. We have something called Cosmic Smith Retreats, but we call it the Cosmic Family, because once you go through this level of work with people, these people are your family. I mean, when you don't feel well in front of people or you're getting sick in front of people, there's a different level of vulnerability when you show up and you're like, wow, I'm scared, or I'm nervous, or and not needing to change it. You know, our world very much portrays this place that we need to be positive all the time, or that we need to be happy all the time. And I'm like, I learned way more in anger. Now I'm not talking destructive anger, but anger and resentment and my feelings, like that's the work. And it's like, there is information in those moments. That's information waiting for you, and we avoid that and push it aside, yeah, it's way more comfortable and amazing when we're happy. But all of it's equally important. Grief makes us realize how important love is. Like, all of these things are so needed. So we work with sacred plant medicines, entheogenic, conscious, spiritual, aware medicines that have intelligence that's way beyond anything that we can really comprehend as humans. And we sit in shamanic ceremony, and we visit parts of ourselves that we didn't know we had, and parts that we've been avoiding, and parts like I've been shown things and working with this medicine that I had no idea I had the potential of. And when, like, for example, one time I was shown my potential as a human, and it was so far past anything I could have ever dreamed for myself. And I thought that that was my end goal. Well, ironically, it's what's happening in my life right now. It's only been like 3 years. And I was like, wow, like they were showing me 3 years from now, not 25 years from now. So who knows what I'm capable of? So plant medicine removes the things that keeps us from living fearlessly. And that means we have to feel it. And oftentimes we remove it from the body. We get well, we purge, we sweat, we cry, we go through whatever it is we have to go through. And, you know, I don't think that plant medicine is for everyone. I think there are a lot of people, you have to truly be willing to surrender into what is to allow. But, you know, just sometimes hearing someone else's story will help you learn how to surrender into what we need to do and let go of the control. I work with a frog venom called Kambo, and it's administered through a burn in the skin, which Havilah was a warrior and received incredible medicine. And then you purge. It's a purgative. It's designed to remove the things that are not working. Panema, bad luck, bad energies. It also regulates the hormone. They're using it for Alzheimer's and Parkinson's, and tons of research out there. So we're just beginning to understand what the potential of Kambo, for example, is.
Yeah, it was such a life-altering experience for me, an awakening experience and a connected experience with attending your retreat, and working with the plant medicines, and really coming in. You're right. You have to surrender. You have to be willing to go beyond where you've ever gone before. You have to be willing to open yourself up to new ways and new ways of thinking, new things that we think that what we know or what we've experienced in life so far is all there is. Like, it may be a little bit beyond this, but I pretty much got it. And that is so far from the truth. And I think working with these, ancient medicines, working with these, plant medicines, they have a wisdom, because everything is connected. We are a part of a much larger organism. You call it source, you call it universe, God, whatever that is for you. And everything that is in creation is connected in some way. And so everything has a spirit, everything has a energy that is a teacher. And these plant medicines literally, and for me, the experience was almost like a letting go of the ego, or that voice that's always like the critical thinker, the one that kind of says nope, or like closes things off, the guard at the gate. And it was kind of like getting beyond that to get to truth, because that's what I asked for. That's the intention that I set, was show me who I am, show me my truth, and what there is available to me. And it really helped me to see like the mind games that we play with ourselves. It helped me to see where I wasn't honoring myself, honoring my ability, honoring my true nature, and the things that I needed to do. I got tremendous amounts of information and downloads that came, that I feel were for me, and to be able to help others and help to push me towards my purpose. And it was after the retreat that I actually ended up cutting all of my hair off. I mean, I was so attached, and even unconsciously attached to my hair, because it became a part of my identity. And it was like, I can't cut my hair off because, what are people going to think? And, all of these things that were unconscious. And I left out of that retreat, and it was just like, I owned me. And it was like, I get to create myself how I want and create new beginnings and start over and build if I want to. And I was like, chop it all off.
Right? Well, being naked. What are you hiding behind? Our hair, our clothes, it's all of those pieces. And, a lot of people that question these medicines don't really understand, like in every living thing on the planet, grass, horses, humans, trees, is something called a spirit molecule. We all have it. Any living thing has it. And like, that's peculiar, right? Science really didn't understand it. And when we consume this molecule naturally, like we don't want to just absorb it. So it needed to be combined with another plant for us to drink this brew. Ayahuasca is what we're specifically talking about. And you kind of go in through the wormhole of yourself and you see way beyond humanity, but you also see the humanity inside of yourselves and the cosmos and universes within. And we travel to all these parts of ourselves. And, you showed up. And when you showed up, you had a lot of emotion, right? Like it's very traditional, very typical, because you're like, holy shit, like I'm getting ready to be naked. And it's like going through the process, and how beautiful your whole weekend was, your transformation, and you're like in the yards, and we're with the turtles, and we're with all of these things that are intricately designed for you to have this experience safely and wonderfully. It's the breath of life.
Yeah. And you get to have the experience that you need that is uniquely for your path of growth and development. And everybody's experience may be different. I had done a lot of research prior to, because I was like, what the heck am I getting into? But I felt called to it. I felt, congruent with, what at this time in my life is the path that I want to explore. And it's not a path that is for everyone. I think we all have our own unique paths to our healing and to our wholeness. And there's no path that's more right or more wrong or any of those things, but it's what you are called to be able to help in your evolution of who you are and embracing who you are. And it was tremendously powerful for me. I am so grateful to have had the opportunity to participate. And, just we want to be able to share what's available, like, because there's a lot of things that we don't even know that exist that are available to us to help us to get the things that we want in life. And so I'm so grateful for you and the work that you're doing in embracing your calling to be able to help and heal people. And please share with everyone how they can, get in touch with you and follow you. So if they're interested in getting more information or just, following the story of an incredible woman, then they'll be able to do that.
I have a teacher, I hear him talking in my ear right now. Do not let people follow you. He's like, walk with them, never let them follow you. And he always said that. He said, if you ever call me your coach or your guru, he's like, you're never welcome in my house again. Like, essentially, he's my Murphy is what he calls his last name. And people are like, oh, where's his website? And I'm like, he doesn't have a website. He lives in the forest. And he's like, take me by the, do not follow me. Take me by the hand and let's join hands and create a circle and let's sit down and share information. And I love that. But you can come over and join our circle at cosmicsmith.com, and you can reach out to me on Facebook under Rhonda Smith, or we have a page for Cosmic Smiths. We're also getting ready to create just an incredible subscription-based community called The Expanded Human, and it's going to be just a mind-blowing experience. We have a new podcast coming out and an opportunity to work with sacred medicines, amazing teachers from all over the world, and really get down to a practice of turning on that internal compass. So completely taking what we have externally, learning how to sit with shutting it off, and then begin the journey of like tapping into what's within. So
I love it. I love it. I love it. And so reach out, cosmicsmith.com, and just know that whatever you think you are so much more than that. And when we share our stories, we get an opportunity to live, to learn, and to love a little bit more. And I want you to be proof of what's possible. I'm Havilah Malone, and thanks so much for tuning in to Havilah and Friends. And we can't wait to see you next week.